like to have an unlimited disposable income, and I would like to have really good, really easy orgasms all the time.
In other words, you're seeking alignment.
I'm seeking alignment, and I think I'm seeking a trust in myself and a trust in the world around me.
Well, maybe, but you're going about it in a really hard way.
I know.
Because by seeking a trust, that means everybody out there needs to line up with what I want, which means you have to care about what I want. They cared about one of those things. You have to care about what I want, and you have to do everything in your power to perform and behave in ways that I can then just observe. What you're saying to us is, I didn't know so much about these receiving modes. And so I've been doing what most people do. I've been observing and getting into the receiving mode of whatever I'm observing. And so sometimes what I observe causes me to receive a feeling of negative emotion, and sometimes it causes me to receive a feeling of positive emotion, but I'm not really in control of that. And the reason is, and we may say to you several times today, this is the most important thing that you will hear from us. This is the most important thing that you will hear from us. If you wait until a manifested moment. Now, what do we mean by a manifested moment? Here's one. It's now. It's the see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it moment. It's the observational moment of life. In other words, here it is. It's manifested. It's manifested because you're translating all of this vibration through your eyes into what you see and through your nose into what you smell. And this is a moment of manifestation. So if you get in the moment and then you seek to change it, it's too late. This moment manifested. Here it is. It manifested. And what it manifested into, all of the components of this manifestation are about what you were doing as you were making your way to it. In other words, ready to be ready, to be ready, to be ready, to be ready. So if you do like so many people do, you keep standing in your manifested moment, noticing the things that are missing in it, then you keep preparing the next moment to be just like it. You get that? So it's different faces, different places, but the same old stuff just keeps happening. Some of it good, some of it not so good. Because you're letting your mind be mostly about what you're observing. What you're observing through your physical senses, and in many ways, what you're receiving from that receiving mode. Television really affects the receiving mode of so many people, and it doesn't help you in a positive way for the most part. What you're observing is setting the basis of your vibration. So, we didn't tell you this today, but here's how it works. So you're sifting through now. You know what you don't want. You're launching a rocket of desire. Your rockets of desires are culminating in what we've been calling this vibrational reality. You just got to accept it. It's vibrational stuff that you can't see or hear or smell or taste or touch yet. But it is a vibrational reality. It's like the seed in the ground. You can't see that either. But you don't go out there and dig the seed up because it didn't show itself to you the next day. In other words, you understand that there's a process. Well, the seed in the ground for you is this vibrational reality. And this vibration will come out where you can see it and play with it, where you can enjoy it and experience it. But there's a gestation process that is taking place. And so most people are offering their vibration based solely upon what they are observing. And since what they are observing is always less than what they want, always 100% of the time, always less than what you want. Because life has caused you to put so much into your vortex that hasn't manifested yet. And so your now reality is always missing all the things that are coming. And if you're only looking at now, then what happens is you become more question-oriented and more problem-oriented or more step one-oriented, when it would be so simple, easy for us to say, for you to slip into the step 3 mode where you are receiving from your inner being what your inner being knows. Now think about it. If your receiving mode is mostly about what you're observing and you don't have as much money as you want and you're observing that, then you're not a good helper to yourself. You're not your own best counselor, because when you think about money, you think about it in all the ways that don't help. You think, I want more. In fact, I'd like infinite money flowing to me. I want way more than I've got. That was a lot of money you don't have.
It's true. But I'm getting there.
When you are looking through your physical senses, so who would you rather be your counselor or your inspirer? You, who believes you don't have enough money, or your inner being who's over here standing with all of the vibrational seeds of all the money that you've been asking for? Your inner being who knows your prosperity. Who would you rather be your counselor? We're really asking you. Such an obvious question and such an obvious answer, but who would you rather be your counselor? Who would you rather receive your impulses from? Your inner being. But how are you going to do that if you haven't practiced getting into the receptive mode of your inner being? If your habit is just to knee-jerk respond is to ask your friends who don't have any money either, or who aren't having enough orgasms either. You want to talk to your inner being. You want to listen for your inner being. And so once you begin doing that, you'll notice that since your inner being really does, we're not kidding you, your inner being knows what you want and how it will most logically and most easily and most quickly and most, here's the key word, in the most satisfying way, unfold for you into another manifestation and another and another and another and another and another and another and another. You can't get there from here. You can't get there from here, from this physical place that you stand, because your beliefs block you. You believe stuff about yourself that your inner being knows is not true. And so you got to quiet your mind. You got to let your inner being run the show for a little while. Just a few seconds while you meditate, just a few minutes here and there, just an impulse here and there and here and there, until what you will show yourself, these words aren't going to show it to you, what you will show yourself if you meditate and if you find that quiet place and if you feel detached and if you receive an impulse of thought and if you follow it through and if you see how it works, if you will do that on a regular basis, you will then be listening to your inner being. And everyone you know who has achieved in magnificent ways is doing exactly that. They don't listen to the world in the way the world is speaking. They're listening to something that is coming from that broader perspective, something that is including everything that is important to you. You see? Helpful?
Very. Thank you.
Hi there. I wanted to talk about how to be more selfishly oriented. I tend to care, just like the story, about other people more than I probably should.
Well, do you believe that you can just all of a sudden be different? Is it a bad thing to care about other people?
No.
Wanting well-being for others. So let's not get confused about what the goal is. Let's focus upon the primary objective being, as much as you can as you're walking through life experience, to be in sync with your own inner being and with the things that you want. So if you're focused upon those things, then you're not likely to be focused upon the opposite of them or the absence of them. Give us some example if you want to.
Just if I'm anywhere with friends, like I'm always trying to make sure that they're having like the best time. And
well, there isn't anything wrong with that. Being a promoter of feeling good is a wonderful way to live. That's not what Esther was doing. She was to a certain extent, but when somebody got after her sleeping friend, then she took up sort of vibrational arms against them. So it's the pushing against that gets you. Because this is a universe that's based on attraction. And there's no pushing anything away. And every time you try to push something away, you don't push it away, you actually bring it to you. There is no no. Every time you yell no, the universe hears yes. Bring me this thing I do not want. So why do you feel that an adjustment is of value to you?
I just have a lot of people telling me that I care too much about them and not enough about my own self-interest.
That's not any of their business. And so how would you personally come to that conclusion? What indicators are you getting that makes you think that?
Because when I make a decision for myself, I don't put myself first, I put other people first.
Well, what if you're an uplifter and you like people that are happy and you're already happy and it's no skin off your nose if you do something that's uplifting to another person? So are you saying to us that there's so little happiness and goodness to go around that if you give it to them, then you don't have any? Oh, here's my happiness. I'm going to give it to you. Or are you tuned in and it's flowing and you're offering it?
That's a big difference.
Or are you in the receptive mode and so the feeling of offering is there?
Yeah, I can hear that.
Yeah. Let's talk about selfishness. We promote selfishness because if you're not selfish enough to care about how you feel, we have some questions. Does it make you sad when you make other people happy?
No.
Well, then your guidance system is telling you it's a good thing. Oh, I'm so depressed. I've made so many people happy.
Sometimes I do it at my own expense, and then in my head I'm like...
What do you mean?
Sometimes I do it at my own expense, though. Like, I'll be, like, upset that I did that.
That's a different thing. Let's talk about that example.
Mm-hmm.
For example?
Like, doing the dishes and, like, just... I can't think of many examples right now.
Do you like the dishes to be done?
I love the dishes to be done.
Do you enjoy the experience of making something tidy and neat?
Yeah.
And so, are you sacrificing happiness when you do the dishes?
No.
So, what's happening is, your inner being is inspiring you to do what you feel like doing, and somebody else who's measuring who's doing what is saying to you, you're letting them take advantage of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not true. So, we would say, if you're feeling bad about it, then you're letting them take advantage of you. If you're feeling good about it, then you're following inspiration and everything's all right.
Yeah.
You hear the difference?
I do.
That's helpful. Did you get that? Did you like that? We just want to know, because the conversation often is, I don't know which of my actions are the right actions and which are the wrong actions. But your inner being does. And it's not like there's a shortage of you. In other words, when you get tuned into this energy stream, you've got all this brilliance and energy and all this to give. You're looking for opportunities to let it flow. But you don't want to be unhappy when what flows doesn't come back exactly. There's something a little wonky in that. Yeah. So?
With meditation, is there like a visual that I can imagine that you would recommend?
That's too much thinking in the beginning. It can turn into that. Once you get into that receiving mode, you can begin to receive vibrations that are so clear that words are forming in your mind or even images are forming behind your eyes. That can happen. It's what the momentum of alignment produces. That's part of the thoughts turning to things. Some people are very visual that way. And sometimes when you detach from what is physical, because your eyes are still used to seeing, when you start receiving those impulses, it feels like you're about to see something. Sometimes you can see light and dark and movement. And so just relax into that. Don't try to see. Don't try to see. Just see when you see, but don't try to see. That's the whole point of the receiving mode. You're not the projector of the thought or the image. You're the receiver of it. And when you understand that, then you're not trying to make anything happen. You're just letting it be what it be's. And it will become more and more and more and more.
I'm trying to also recharge myself.
The whole point of meditation is not to get into the receiving mode so that big things happen while you're in meditation. The point of meditation is to attune yourself to the receiving mode so that when you're back into the fullness of your day, then you can follow the impulse. Sometimes things happen in meditation, but the point of meditation isn't to turn it into that. The point of meditation is to tune yourself to understand when you're receptive and when you're not. People often say, is it normal for me to get more emotionally charged once I start meditating? Feel more of my emotions, both good feeling ones and not good feeling ones. And we say yes, because when you tune yourself to the frequency of your inner being, that resistance-free space, then when you step back into a space that has resistance, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. You see what we're getting at? So the whole process is just a process of understanding how to accomplish your connection, and then just through experience, maintaining it so that there's more living happily ever after going on.
I like that.
Yes? Something more?
I'm trying to make a decision. Can you...
All right, those are really good words. I'm trying to make a decision. Or, I've been living life, and I've put a lot of things in the vortex, and I'm sure that my inner being knows what I'm reaching for and where the path is that will lead me to this delicious unfolding. So rather than I'm trying to make a decision, I've decided to get into the receiving mode so that I can hear what my inner being is suggesting.